Do you ever wish your family would celebrate you when you do things that are grounded in who you genuinely are, rather than use shame to try to change you into who they want you to be? Wouldn't it be great if there were songs we could sing that would remind us to be that best version of ourselves? Luckily, my friend Alfonso has a song just like that. It's one his grandfather wrote called Mother Said. Today, I am thrilled to share with you the story Alfonso taught me behind the song Mother Said and how to sing it. But stay tuned for more videos from our conversation where Alfonso taught me all about the iconic musician Louis Armstrong and Alfonso's work at the Louis Armstrong House Museum. Hey Alfonso, how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, so good to see you. Thanks so much for joining.
Of course, man. I'm excited to, be a part of this. This is really great.
One of the ideas I had, and I mentioned to you, was asking people about their names, because to me it's a great icebreaker to learn a little bit about someone's heritage without saying, like, so what's your ethnicity? Or, there's so many loaded questions when people genuinely want to discover someone's background. And to me, I've always found just asking where a name comes from. Is there a story behind Alfonso, or your last name Horn, or anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, sure. We can go there. My full name is Alfonso Lamado Horne III. So I'm the third Alfonso Lamado Horne.
Wow.
Now, I haven't studied my ancestry. So on my father's side, I know that there's some French and some Spanish, hence Alfonso Lamar Horne. But outside of that, I don't know that much. Now, on my mother's side, my grandfather came from South Africa. That'll tie into the big long story. I would get very envious that, like, my name is Alfonso Lamado Horne III. I'm like the third Alfonso, but then my sisters and like everyone on my mother's side is named in a South African language, in Bantu language at the time. So my mother's name is Pico Nyambolo. Pico is for wings, means wings. And her sister is Nani and Sitatu. My sister, her name is Susanna Kutala, which Susanna means princess, Katala means actress. I'm like, they have all these great, amazing, illustrious names. And like, I get Alfonso, which is still pretty
Oh,
honest.
just what a beautiful way to celebrate your heritage, and in carrying on both you being the third Alfonso, like that ties you so closely, I would imagine, to your father's side of the family, even though you said you don't know maybe so much about that lineage. But then for your sisters and your mother to have these names that are that's just so expressive and so beautiful, and I feel like would give them such a sense of individuality, right? I mean, do they connect with that?
Yeah, totally, totally, totally. And my cousins, down to my cousins, Kwabo, Ikesha. And of course, like in school, no one knows how to pronounce them. Like,
Right.
Aisha. Like, and so
Right.
whenever I was introducing my friends to my cousins, I'm like, okay, this is not a made up name. This is a real name. It's like actually, a Bantu name from South
Right.
Africa. So my grandfather was a part of the apartheid in South Africa and actually knew Gandhi when Gandhi was down in South Africa. His father was one of the founding members of the African National Congress. And so he came here to finish his graduate work and studies at Oberlin, and he came to New York and worked in the African Native Union. He was giving speeches in the African Native Union. These followers found him, like these followers of a princess named Laura Dorka Kofi found him and said, there's this princess from Ghana who lived here in America, who was also a part of the Pan-Africanism movement, worked with Marcus Garvey in the United Negro Improvement Association. She helped to facilitate the southern branches of that organization. And she was getting too much recognition, so they kicked her out. and she started
Wow.
her own following, and that was called the African Universal Church. And she took on the persona of a prophetess. She considered
Wow.
herself a prophetess, and her followers called her Mother Kofi, and she called her followers her children. And so she built churches and organizations in Alabama and Georgia and New Orleans and Florida, and she had thousands and thousands of members. Now that she's separated from the UNIA and separated from all these other black institutions, those were typically led by men. It was, unheard of for a woman to do these kind of things, and they saw her very threatening. So
Wow.
they conspired to get her arrested on false claims. They said she was a voodoo witch woman. But she was very Christian. She was a Christian woman. I think it's important to express that. Yeah, she was first and foremost a Christian woman. She was preaching out of the Bible in a way that was promoting black unification and African connection, because during this period of time, only a fraction of African Americans or Black Americans really connected with Africans in Africa. And so that really doesn't happen until the Pan Africanism movement, led, and one of the biggest leaders is Marcus Garvey, but also her. They really saw her as a great leader because she actually came from Africa, came to America, and promoting African Americans to come back to Africa. During this period of time, all this promotion, you got to think about, minstrelsy, all of that stuff
Right.
where the black image is exploited and looked as like, primitive. And
Mm.
so for her to say, and she's like, no, actually, I'm a princess. There's, the west coast of Africa is called the Gold Coast for a reason, So
Yeah.
there's all these riches and all these resources, rich resources, for us to capitalize on and for us to like build our sense of African wealth and all of that kind of stuff. If we come back and build that, so that's basically what she was trying to do.
Mm.
And that's one of her sayings, is that, we don't need someone who's just going to preach or to just talk. We need someone who knows how to build houses, build institutions and all that kind of stuff. So she was all about building communities, building businesses in the wealth of African identity. Back to Laura Doker Coffey, to her followers known as Mother Coffey. And also they tried to deport her. And
Mm.
as a prophetess, she foresaw her assassination. She told her
Wow.
followers that she would be assassinated, and that shortly afterwards that there would be a man to continue her work, short in stature and high in temper. That's where my grandfather comes into the picture. He was here in New York, and her followers found him and said, "You're the person that she prophesied about."
Wow. Oh
And
my
he
gosh.
never heard about her. During this period of time, he never heard about her, and he doubted. That was one of the rumors about her, was that she was a fraud. They came up with a story that she was a fraud, that she was originally from Athens, Georgia. She wasn't really from Africa and all that stuff. But even
Mm.
my grandfather didn't really believe the story, because his father was a part of the African National Congress. So, like, he did his research. He got in touch with the community in Ghana, where she came from, and found out that those stories were very true. And so he took it upon himself to fulfill her prophecy and be her successor. He bought 11 acres of land in Jacksonville, Florida, and built a church in the community. Community was called Adorkaville, and it's still there. It is called Adorkaville. What my grandfather did, he was the very first person. So whatever is written about her is really gathered mostly by him. My grandfather wrote books, so he took a lot of, so he, gathered all the followers and like wrote the story according to what the followers were saying. And wrote a series of books about her. The main book is called Mother Sacred Teachings, and so in that book you learn about her life, but in the tradition of what those churches and communities did, because it wasn't just him in that church in Adorkaville. That's like one of them. So that was the quote unquote, or one of the headquarters. But there were
Mhm.
still churches and communities in New York, and in New Orleans and Georgia and Alabama. There's still two churches in Alabama that I know of. But yeah, so in the book, there is the story of her life, but then also her sayings as according to her followers. So in the book, you'll say, Mother said, love one another. Mother said, there's all these different mother sacred teachings. When I was going to the church as a kid, you would go up and you would say something of the Bantu language. We would say, Indi Abuela Kakula, which means I'm thankful very much. And we would sing songs in the Bantu language. Do me song, Jehovah, which is praise the Lord, Jehovah. We would then say a mother sacred teaching. We would say, Mother said, love one another. If you take something from Africa, give it back. Something like that, that one of her sayings. As a musical artist, I wanted to present that heritage and present that story. And so it was fall of 2017 where I premiered a musical suite of the music. So it was a collection of different songs from the church that my grandfather also wrote some of those songs, and I arranged it into like a suite of music between some of my original material and some of his material and the material from the community, and built a musical suite out of it, with a narrator reading excerpts from his book, and an interpretive dancer reflecting and dancing as Mother Company. And so after that presentation, I was like, I wanted to like build it into a quote unquote musical. So Mother Said is a song strictly from my grandfather. He wrote that
Wow.
song.
Well, first of all, would that be appropriate for the
Yep.
audience? Okay, to sing that and learn that and
In the verse is like whatever key we're comfortable with.
Sure.
Arise, ye sons and daughters, ye children of our princess. Oh, praise your mother's God, for her hand and Jesus' hand, with a bullet hole in her head, she willed us a message grand. Serve God and clean your heart, and He will do the rest. And then it goes to Mother said, oh yes. Mother said, she said, serve God and clean your heart. Mother said, away. Mother said, Wanty, love our motherland, Africa. Mother said, oh yes. Mother said, she said, serve God and clean your heart. Mother said, away. Mother said, Wanty, march on to victory. That's how the song.
yeah. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Can you break down what does wati mean and what is the awe?
Yeah,
What
so
do those words mean?
it functions as amen,
Okay,
or
okay.
namaste, as affirmation, basically affirmation. Ewe and wati is are Bantu words for affirmation.
It's funny, that reminds me when I met with my Greek friend Dianthe. She was talking about in Greece they have a word like that called yasu, and it's just like anytime someone says something good, they say yasu, or they say goodbye yasu, hello yasu. Like it's just anything you want it to mean, and so it sounds like maybe these are in a similar vein.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And another
beautiful.
word actually is my ebuye. Is that's the one that I really grew up with. So the only time I use ewe and wachi is actually in this song, but my ebuye is actually welcome or hello,
Oh,
in the Bantu language.
Have you heard this song sung in throughout the church or throughout other places?
Well,
or
I mean, it was a song that he wrote for Adorkaville for his church and community. So I've only heard it in the church and in the shows that I do. Those are the
yeah.
projects, yeah.
So
Oh,
thank you again for giving the permission slip for viewers to practice and learn that and celebrate it with their loved ones or just themselves. I mean, I think so much can be just an introspective. Like you said, this is healing for you to do this work, and I hope other people too can heal through their practice and things like that.
Do you want me to teach you the song, or how does that?
Sure. Yeah, can we just do like a call and response where you sing it and I sing it back?
Okay, sure. Mother said, oh yes. Mother said, she said, serve God and clean your heart.
Mother said, oh yes. Mother said, she said, serve God and clean your heart.
Yep, exactly. The next part is Mother said away, Mother said Wati, love our motherland, Africa.
Mother said away, Mother said Wati, love our motherland, Africa.
Yeah, man. Mother said away, Mother said Wati, march on to victory.
Mother said away, Mother said Wati, march on to victory.
Yeah, sounds great, dude.
Thanks, man. Well, a big part of this for me is healing such a crutch I have on music. I mean, as I'm looking at words and music here, but I think there's such a beautiful tradition that for me was lost in call and response style learning and internalizing music rather than having this crutch of needing that music in front of you. So I hope that viewers can be much better than me about picking things up through call and response, because it's just so organic. I think it's the way we should learn so many things. I mean, music has its place, but because you lose so much soulful connection and expression when you're trapped behind that score. So
yeah, that's right. It lives as an oral tradition, as a folk music. I think, as you were saying, as a healing mechanism, as an opportunity for us to step outside of music with written parts. That we can actually experience the folk element of all musical styles across all lineages and all peoples, all heritage, as a vehicle for connecting is very important, especially during these times.
And so thank you. This has been a dream come true to get to sit down and talk with you like this.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks again, Alphonso. I really appreciate everything you shared. Your vulnerability, your bravery, all of that came through. And so thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you again soon.
I know, dude. Yeah, let me know when you come up. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
To Louis Armstrong's house. Yeah, cool.
Oh my gosh, that would be incredible.
Yeah, totally. Okay, man. I'll
see you later. Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you feel inspired to make or share your own family values, I'd love to hear how you celebrate your loved ones for who they genuinely are. See you next time.